faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
No, it's Superman.
It was like a moment frozen in time, frozen in slow motion, an onrushing truck. A young boy on a skateboard. But it wasn't in slow motion. It was real. And unless the truck stopped or the boy swerved, the inevitable would happen.
Watch out! Get him!
Stop! 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 Look out!
Suddenly, the boy fell from the skateboard right in the path of the oncoming truck. I zoomed downward into the street, stopped the truck with my right hand, picked the boy up in my left, and headed for the sky.
Superman!
He saved him!
Let them go!
I came down in a quiet wooded area a few miles north of Metropolis. The boy had a nasty bruise on his knee, and we bathed it in the cool water of a clear stream. What's your name?
Danny, and you're Superman.
How long have you been practicing the skateboard, Danny?
Danny meets Superman. Boy, wait till the gang hears this.
You know, that could have been a nasty accident.
I sure wish I had the kind of strength you have.
And city streets aren't exactly the place for skateboarding, are they?
Do you have special exercises you do? I mean, like push-ups and all that?
You're not listening to a word, are you?
Sure I am. You come from another planet, right?
Tell you what, Danny, if I answer your questions, will you answer mine?
Deal. Me first. What planet were you born on?
Krypton.
Where's that?
Far away, Danny. Very far away. In another galaxy. You know what a light year is?
Sure. Light travels 186,000 miles a second. So multiply the number of seconds in a whole year by 186,000, and that's a light year.
Good, Danny. Now you can appreciate the distance. Krypton was many, many light years away from Earth. It revolved about a giant red sun and was inhabited by a race of highly intelligent beings. Hundreds of years before, they had solved the problems of space travel, established nuclear energy plants, tamed all the powers of nature, except one. It was my father, Jor-El, one of Krypton's leading scientists, who knew what this power was, and that it was to bring disaster to Krypton.
I tell you, we must evacuate our people to another planet.
Because you hear rumblings in the ground? Don't be ridiculous, Jor-El.
These are more than mere rumblings. There are powers beneath our planet's shell that are beyond our comprehension. Within a year, Krypton will explode like a gigantic bomb.
Jor-El, your imagination's running amok.
Impossible.
Sheer nonsense.
I was just a small tyke at that time, but I can still hear my mother's voice singing lullabies, crooning the ancient folk songs of Krypton.
Jor-El?
They refuse to listen, Lara. Won't hear a word.
They've had it too good. They're fat, smug, and complacent.
And they'll be destroyed.
And we along with them.
Unless we get out while there's still time.
But how?
I'll build a spaceship for us and our son.
He's so little, Jor-El. So small to die. Can you? Can you build this spaceship?
I can try. I've been studying a small planet in another galaxy. Its people, whom we've been listening to on our interstellar radios, call it Earth. It has a bright new sun, a sun that could mean new strength.
For months, my father labored on the spaceship, drawing plans, collecting materials, revising, improving. In time, he had brought forth a small, workable model, a miniature spacecraft. He was working toward a larger one, large enough for the whole family, when the day of disaster came. As my father had predicted, Krypton had become one gigantic bomb. Tremors shook the earth, huge cracks riffled the surface, gaping holes suddenly yawned. Oceans roared and surged landward. Giant buildings toppled like matchsticks. Great transit tubes reared skyward, twisting, bending. Explosions threw debris into the sky for hundreds of miles. Krypton was dying.
Lara! Lara!
Over here, Jor-El.
Get our son. We've got to make it to the launch pad. Lara, please, do as I say, darling.
Yes, Jor-El.
At the launch pad, my parents placed me aboard the small spacecraft.
We'll never see him again.
It's the only way, Lara.
I hate so to part with him.
At least he'll live.
Hurry, Jarrell. The quakes are coming closer.
Everything's ready. All controls. Countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7,
Powering.
4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Goodbye, Kal-El.
Goodbye, my son.
Happy journey.
Live, my son. Live.
As speed increases, time expands, slows down. And as I traveled across the billions of miles of space at speeds faster than light, I grew only a very little. By the time the small spaceship entered the solar system, I was still an infant, unable to talk, unable to walk. Soon the ship entered Earth's atmosphere and plunged to the surface on a small farm near a village named Smallville. I don't know how long I lay there, perhaps for days, until I was finally discovered.
Hey, Martha.
Need something, Jonathan?
Come here, Martha. Look at this thing.
What is it?
Well, I'd reckon it was a rocket ship.
I'd reckon the same, Jonathan.
Somebody's idea of a practical joke, I guess, or a publicity stunt. Let me get this consarn thing open. Well, I'll be.
It's a baby.
Baby boy.
You think he's a Martian, Jonathan?
Heck, Martha, why, just look at him. Just as human and cute-looking as any baby I ever did see.
Oh, he's such a darling, Jonathan. Just what we always wanted, but never could have.
Now, don't get your hopes up, Martha. You know we'll have to take him to the foundling home.
We could adopt him, Jonathan.
Only if the home passed on us, Martha. We'll see. Maybe.
Have you made any decision yet, Doctor?
You've got to realize, Mrs. Kent, that the Smallville Children's Home will have to make a thorough investigation before the boy is passed on to you for adoption.
Of course, Dr. Thomas.
And we'll make every effort to locate his real parents first. Other than that, I can only say he seems to be a healthy baby. Very healthy. Yes, goodbye.
Doctor, look at this.
What is it?
It was a toy truck. I gave it to him this morning.
Did he throw it?
No, Doctor. He just mangled it in one hand.
Now, nurse.
Not only that, look at this hypo needle.
It's broken.
I tried to vaccinate him just a little while ago. The needle won't penetrate.
Impossible. It must have been a bad needle. Here, go back and try it with this one.
Oh! Dr. Thomas! Dr. Thomas, come in here, quickly!
What's going on?
Look!
What's he doing up there?
He's flying!
He can't be.
He is! Just look!
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. Let's get out of here.
Nurse!
Doctor, you're so pale.
You don't look so rosy yourself. Look, get the Kents on the phone. Tell them they can have the child, and to come pick him up right away.
Of course, I was very small then, and a lot of it I don't remember. It came down to me in stories told by my foster parents. But as I grew, I began to sense the powers within me. One day, walking home from school alongside the railroad tracks, I heard the whistle of an approaching train behind me, and I began to run, just for kicks. At first, it was just a lark, but as my strides lengthened and my pace picked up, I began to notice I was keeping up with the train. Putting on a burst of speed, I went ahead of it, past it, and got to the crossing in plenty of time. And I wasn't even out of breath. As time went on, I found out a lot of things about myself, about things I could do that others could not. But never was I allowed by my foster parents, my new father and mother, ever to think that because of these powers I was better or smarter or in any way greater than other people. They told me I was lucky. That's all, just lucky. And I guess I am. And when my father took ill and he lay in the hospital waiting for his final day,
I don't have long, son. And there's one last thing I must say to you. You have amazing powers, superhuman powers. Use them wisely and well for the betterment of your fellow men, as a bulwark against evil. And hold fast always to the principles of justice and truth and honesty and fair play. Always. Promise me.
Denny?
Huh?
I didn't mean to be so long-winded.
Heck, I could listen all day. That's some story. Gee.
Look, I've got your skateboard fixed, but you've got to promise me.
I know. Not in the city streets, I know.
Promise?
Promise.
Good. Now, let me give you a ride home.
Up in the sky?
Up in the sky.
Let's go. Up and away!
I dropped Danny at his home, changed my clothes, and spent the rest of the day at the Daily Planet as Clark Kent. Later that afternoon, Lois told me a young boy was waiting to see me. Of course, it was Denny. Come in, young fella. Have a seat.
Thanks. So you're Clark Kent, ace reporter.
That's me.
Boy, have I got a story for you.
Far out at sea, 200 miles from the nearest land, a small fishing boat bobs on the ocean swell. There is no one aboard. All is silence except for an ominous ticking below deck. Ticking off the hours, the minutes, the seconds, until... Blinding light fills the sky, brighter than the sun. A towering black cloud like a huge mushroom blooms upward into the heavens. Giant tidal waves form in the waters and rush landward. Thousands of miles away, in the city room of the Daily Planet in Metropolis, the presses are stopped.
Copy.
Joey, hold that lead on the president. Bullet coming in.
You got the mayor's office on the phone yet?
I ain't even had lunch.
Copy.
City desk. What? Lady, an atomic bomb just went off. We don't have time to rescue cats from trees. Call the SPCA. City desk. No, as far as we know, there were no casualties. That's right. Washington says it was probably a small bomb. 5-10 kilotons. Yeah, okay. Lois, where's Kent?
Fishing.
What?
No kidding. He's up in Minnesota with Jimmy Olsen.
What a time to pick to go fishing. Get him back.
I'll try. Daily Planet, Lois Lane.
Listen, lady, and listen good. The bomb we triggered in the ocean was a baby. A mere 4 kilotons. The next one will be over 100.
Who is this?
Never mind, just listen. We want $10 billion. $10 billion in gold. It will be placed aboard a 747 jet airplane, fully fueled in Gander. We will give further instructions at that point in time.
Who's we? Who are you?
We are Force One. Unless the gold is placed at our disposal by noon tomorrow, your charming city of Metropolis will be reduced to rubble.
Is this a joke?
You may treat it as a joke if you wish, but 12 noon tomorrow is reality time. By the way, 100 kilotons isn't bad for a homemade bomb, huh?
Hello?
In the mayor's office at City Hall, Lois tells her story to city officials, scientists, members of the FBI, and CIA.
Could this be a hoax?
We just can't take the chance. Not in the light of that explosion at sea.
It's 5 o'clock now. That leaves us 17 hours to find the bomb.
Sure, but how?
What do you think, Mr. Mayor?
Frankly, I think we only have one hope. Superman. Can we contact him, Lois?
Clark Kent might.
Where is Clark?
On vacation, Mr. Mayor, with Jimmy Olsen at a fishing camp up in the Minnesota wilderness. I placed a call, but so far no connection.
I hate to be a wet blanket, but we now have 16 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds.
At that moment, in an abandoned warehouse in downtown Metropolis, 3 people sit in the rear of a trailer truck. 2 of them are hunched over a large mass of metal and wire. The third, a man with a scar running from left eyebrow to chin, looks on.
Hey, cool it, man. That thing's supposed to go off at noon tomorrow, and I'd rather not be around.
That's what I'm working on. The timer. Ah, there. Okay, let's try it.
Try what?
The moment of truth, sweetheart. See this lever here? I move it this way, you know. After that, Either the timing mechanism starts, or the mass becomes critical, and we all go up in atoms. Right, Trask?
Well put, young man.
Wait a minute. Can't we get away from here? Do it by remote control?
Jenny, darling, we'd have to be 300 miles from here, which we will be if the timer works. Go ahead, Randy. It's your baby. Well done, friend. Well done.
Call me Einstein.
Now let's split this town.
In time, Jenny, in time. Our plane is at the airport. But first, we drive our little firecracker to ground zero, directly to the center of Metropolis.
What about the gold?
Don't worry, we'll get it. They'll...
Seconds into minutes, minutes into hours, the time passes as Metropolis sleeps. In the very center of the city, beneath an old railroad bridge, stands the truck, its cargo ticking toward death. At the Daily Planet, the sweep hands of the electric clocks move silently.
Lois Lane?
Ready with that Michigan call.
Hello?
Rainbow Lodge.
Is Clark Kent there?
Hello?
Is Clark Kent there?
I can't hear you.
Clark Kent, is he there?
Oh, yeah, that fishing fella. He was. He ain't now.
Where is he? It's very important.
Well, now, him and that other fishing fella. What's his name?
Jimmy Olsen?
Yep, that's him. Anyways, they took off.
Took off?
Rented one of them light planes they did. Fishing weren't no good down here. Went north.
Where north?
Well, near as I can figure, I'd say maybe 200 miles up to the Quetico Superior area.
Can they be reached?
Ma'am, there ain't no folks up there. Not to speak of. Just fish.
5 o'clock, Mr. Mayor. 7 hours to Holocaust.
There must be some way to reach Kent.
In the dark, 200 miles into nowhere? How?
I've got an idea. It's a long shot, and we'll have to wait until it's light.
Dawn breaks over northern Minnesota. Waist high in the rippling waters of a gently flowing stream, Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen cast for trout. The sky brightens.
Hey, Clark.
You got a strike?
No, look at that.
What?
That plane. He's skywriting.
Skywriting? Out here? Ridiculous.
That's what I was thinking. What's to advertise around here? There's no people.
It can't be fish bait.
He's coming this way.
There he goes again.
A-B-O-M-B.
Clark and Jimmy watch the letters appear in the sky, slowly, one by one, until...
A-bomb. Metropolis. Get Superman. Lois. Jimmy, let's go.
Clark!
I twisted my ankle. Maybe broke.
Grab my shoulder.
No.
Come on.
No, you get back to the Rainbow Lodge. Just get me to the shore and you get back to the lodge. Call this number, 516-9206 in Metropolis. Superman will answer. Tell him what goes.
Clark, I can't leave you here.
Don't argue, Jimmy. Do it. We're fighting time. Make the call and get back to Metropolis. Send the plane back for me. Now, get moving.
Leaving Clark Kent on the shore of the stream, Jimmy Olsen charges towards the seaplane and takes off. As the plane scuds across the lake, Clark Kent watches it rise into the sky and disappear over the trees. Moments later, he emerges from the tent as Superman and zooms upward. Streaks towards Metropolis at fantastic speed, and within 2 minutes stands in the mayor's office in City Hall.
All right, quiet, please, quiet. The bomb is set for noon, Superman.
That gives us less than 5 hours.
And we have no idea what part of the city they placed it.
Hold it. One question. Does that bomb emit radiation?
Yes, it does.
Okay, there's our hope. Wish me luck.
Look at that!
Right out the window.
Amazing! He'll find it.
Rocketing upward, Superman speeds to the Metropolis Geological Laboratory, picks up an ultra-sensitive Geiger counter, and then zooms into the skies above the city.
There's something. Let's check it out.
Superman dives down at tremendous speed.
Small private hospital. Could the bomb be in there? Well, we'll find out with my X-ray vision. Radioactive tracer material. The patient may live, but not unless I find that bomb.
Blasting skyward again, Superman circles over Metropolis. Another hospital brings him to Earth. Then a government laboratory. But the bomb still eludes him.
11:40. 20 minutes to go and no sign. Nothing. Listen to that. Maybe this time. Seems to be coming from that old railroad bridge. It's the bomb inside that trailer truck. Gotta move fast. This is it, all right. But bolted down and just 15 minutes to go. No sense trying to pry it loose.
Stepping outside, he picks up the entire trailer truck and takes to the skies. Traveling at a rate approaching the speed of light, Superman races toward the sun. 1 million miles from the blazing star, Superman screeches to a halt. And rears back and hurls the bomb straight into its center.
Strike one for you, Force One. The other two come later.
Exploding within our great sun, the homemade A-bomb is a mere puffball. The sky brightens only slightly, and on Earth a few sunspots are recorded, for nothing that man can make is mightier than the forces of the universe. Later, in the city room at the planet.
Well, look who's here. Clark Kent, Cub reporter.
Why the sarcasm?
I don't blame him. Where were you when the bomb hit the sun?
I almost broke my ankle in that stream.
You don't seem to be limping.
Well, it healed.
I sometimes wonder about you.
Why?
You're never here when Superman saves the day. You must have a block.
What about that terrorist group? I read about it on the way from Minnesota.
The FBI finally got a line on them. Force One, they called themselves. 2 men and a girl. They were picked up trying to board a plane at the airport.
It's a nice feeling, isn't it, to have the FBI around?
And, of course, Superman.
In Superman's Fortress of Solitude stands Kandor, the city in a bottle, stolen and miniaturized by a space pirate before the explosion of the planet Krypton. In this controlled environment, 1 million microscopic inhabitants keep the towering civilization of Superman's native world alive. Standing at the podium before a capacity audience in the city's civic center is Darvam, Kandor's Commissioner of Science Police.
To the annual Science Police Awards ceremonies. To present the decorations for outstanding officers of the past year, I am privileged to present a man whose visits from the outside world are not nearly often enough. Kal-El, known to most of the galaxy as Superman.
Thank you, fellow Kandorians. The job of being a Superman is very different from being a policeman. And so it is with the greatest respect that I call Science Police Officer Ron Za to the podium to accept.
Look, a man with a gravity gun!
Hello. Are you all right? Thank the fates you ducked in time.
I'm going to do more than that, Ron Za.
He's running away!
Look out for that gun!
Somebody stop him!
Hold on, Kal-El.
Let go of me, Ron Za. You're keeping me from
Getting hurt. You don't have your superpowers here in Kandor. Not in an environment just like Krypton's.
But
let me do what I've been trained for. Watch.
Over there, Ronza! He's hiding behind that statue!
Everyone clear the complex now! You've nowhere to run, you Kandorian scum!
Make a move for me and my gravity gun will blast your atoms apart!
Blast away! It won't save you!
Ronza's been hit!
But look! His uniform is deflecting a gravity beam back at the terrorist! And it's...
a neat trick, Ron Za. How did you pull it off?
Simple, Kal-El. Policemen on Earth are sometimes known to wear bulletproof vests. But we science police in Kandor have gone them one better. Our uniforms repel a would-be killer's ammunition right back to the source.
He's in critical shape, but after a few hours in the rehabilitation booth, he'll be completely recovered.
And then he can stand trial for attempting to assassinate our distinguished guest of honor.
I'm indebted to you, Ron Za. That was a fine display of police work.
That's our Ron. Now you know how he got the reputation of being Kandor's finest.
After many fond farewells, Superman leaves the microscopic confines of the tiny bottle city as the microwave beamer in his fortress restores him to normal size. And then it's the Arctic fortress he leaves behind as he streaks back to Metropolis and his job as mild-mannered Clark Kent, anchorman for WGBS TV News.
Okay, Clark, let's go over it again. Mr. Edge, I wanted to talk to you because...
Wait, I think I got it. Mr. Edge, I wanted to talk to you because I really think I'm entitled to more. I mean, it's my opinion that, well, if it's all right with you, of course, could you please, maybe...
No, Clark. All wrong. Stop hedging. You just tell him you want a raise and you know you deserve it. That's all there is to it.
But, Lois, I couldn't be that blunt. Not with Mr. Edge. It wouldn't be right.
Sometimes, Clark, I wonder why I even bother with you.
That plane's in trouble! The engines are on fire! It's out of control!
Oh my gosh, Clark, it's going to hit the Galaxy building. Can't anybody do something?
I can, but not standing around here. I've got to slip away and change to...
Look, Clark, up in the sky.
Great Scott!
Hey, that's not Superman! You could have fooled me! Look what he's doing!
I don't believe this, Clark. A man in a weird costume grabbed the fuselage of that plane and is flying it to safety just like Superman would.
Believe me, Lois, I'm as surprised as you are. I'd better find a telephone booth and phone this story into the station.
Okay, Clark, but the newspaper byline is mine.
But instead of finding a phone, Clark Kent finds a deserted alley, and a heartbeat later the soft-spoken reporter sheds his clothes to become the mighty Man of Steel himself, Superman! And a few moments later, at Metropolis Airport, an astounded ground crew has watched an amazing demonstration.
Phew! You don't look like Superman, but you sure operate like him. You brought that twin-engine job in on your shoulders and put out the flames with super breath just like a real pro.
Yeah, but if you're not Superman, who are you, buddy?
I assure you my name is not Buddy.
His name is Ronzar, gentlemen.
Superman! The real one!
Greetings, Kal-El. I knew it wouldn't take you long to find me.
You and I have some things to discuss, Ronzar. What do you say we talk in private? About 50,000 feet up?
After you.
Gee! Now it looks like Metropolis has two Supermen.
Looks like. I just hope... What is it? I just hope those two are friends.
Here we are, leveling off at 50,000 feet.
Let's have it, Ronzar. Why have you followed me to the outside world?
Because in Kandor, I'm the best there is. You gave me an award that says so. But what does a superior city like Kandor need with an expert crime fighter?
You were born and trained there. That's where you belong.
I belong here on Earth. I'm better at this than you are. This planet is a mess, Kal-El. With Kryptonian superpowers along with my training, I'll be a super cop.
But you know nothing about superpowers. I've had them since I was a baby, and even I make mistakes sometimes.
That's because you're an amateur and I'm a professional.
Where are you flying off to?
I've got work to do. Got to show you what superpowers and training can do.
Over the next several days, Ronza of Kandor tries to prove his boast as the people of Metropolis and the world take notice.
This is Clark Kent with a WGBS TV News summary. The mysterious super cop continues to dominate the headlines. Today, he issued summonses to 36,000 jaywalkers, and he heat-beamed the engines of 12,000 cars he claimed were polluting the air too much. Several days ago, he said that since most crimes occur in the nighttime hours, people would need a special pass from him to walk the streets of Metropolis after 9 p.m. WGBS reporter Jimmy Olsen filed this report on today's demonstration against the curfew.
Here on the left bank of the Metropolis River, over 15,000 marchers have shown up for this demonstration against the rules laid down by... A new development. The super cop has entered the scene. He seems to be... Yes, he's coming over here.
You're a reporter. I'd like to make a statement.
My audience is yours.
I'd like Metropolis to know there will be no more demonstrations against any laws issued by me. Anything I decree is necessary for the welfare of...
Superman!
Hello, Jimmy. Ronzar, I believe you're making a mistake here.
Move along, Kal-El. You should have done this years ago yourself.
Maybe so. But the right to protest is guaranteed by law to all American citizens. You can no more limit that right legally than commit grand theft.
Oh, I'll be back.
Both Superman and the super cop are flying off now. No, The super cop is diving into the river. It looks like... Hey, a water spout is popping up where he dove in. The water from the river is rising up and beginning to tumble from the sky onto the demonstrators. It's a cloudburst, and there isn't a cloud in the sky, and it's breaking up the mark. The super cop can't stop the demonstration directly, but there's no law against making it rain. This is Jimmy Olsen for WGBS TV News.
This is Clark Kent back in the WGBS studio. The curfew and the new rules are still in effect, and Superman has made no public statement on the matter. We'll have more news after this word from our sponsor.
Hey, Clark, where are you running off to? You've got a newscast to finish.
This is no time for a coffee break. It's only a 60-second commercial.
But the mild-mannered newsman has a far more pressing problem on his mind as he finds a deserted stockroom a few doors up from Studio B.
Reading that report on Ronza's policies was the last straw. It's about time someone told him Metropolis cannot be run like a police state. And that someone is... Superman!
But elsewhere in the city at that moment, another superpowered figure patrols a neighborhood at low altitude.
Look at these earthling citizens. Many of them ducked into their houses and automobiles as I pass by. This is the way they should regard the law, with great respect and perhaps a little fear. That's what Kal-El's biggest mistake was. He made everyone take Superman for granted, as if he were on their level. He didn't know the law has to be set above the general public for it to function. Now, that's odd. Some sort of strange light beams seem to be emanating from that automobile junkyard up ahead. This bears investigating. The radiation is very weak, and coming from that one primitive automobile over... The headlights of that car turned on some horrible death ray. Can't stand up?
No, you can't, can you? Any more than Superman could, if you were he.
Who are you? Crouched in the car. Show yourself.
Delighted to, Super Cop, or whatever you call yourself. I'm Lawrence Gabriel, and these quasar beams causing you so much discomfort are a rather brilliant invention of mine.
Why would you want to kill me?
It wasn't you I was commissioned to destroy. It was Superman. But when the crime syndicate bosses hear you fell into my trap instead, I'm sure they'll be almost as delighted. I'll try to make it to your funeral, old man.
No! Where are you going? How do I get out of here?
Oh, just turn off the headlights. If you can crawl that far.
My super hearing, picking up the sound of children playing elsewhere in this awful graveyard. If I can throw my voice to them with super ventriloquism.
And elsewhere in the large junkyard.
Found you, Joey. Your shirt was sticking out behind the door.
You did not. You didn't see me until after I...
Attention. This is Ronza of the Science Police.
Where's that voice coming from? From nowhere?
I need your help, boys. Please come to the northeast corner of this junkyard. Immediately.
It's one of that creepo super cop's tricks. I don't know about you, but I ain't getting caught.
Me neither. Maybe he passed a law says you get the electric chair for playing in junkyards.
I'm done for. Little children are afraid to come near me, even when I'm helpless as a fish. Maybe Kal-El was right. Perhaps my methods were wrong. That sound. Is there time for hope? Kal-El! Now I know why they call you Superman.
No time for that. The switches in this car are rusted and useless. I'll have to help the owner of this junkyard by crushing this particular car for him.
Superman, Kal-El. You saved my life. How can I thank you?
By doing your duty to your people, our people, in Kandor. I received a message just minutes ago that a crime wave has broken out, and the authorities are at their wits' end. I have work to do here, but in Kandor, they need you.
But that scientist, Gabriel, he'll get away.
I just delivered him personally to a federal prison. Been waiting for him to show his face so I could nab him for weeks. That's how I learned where you were. Now, if you'll excuse me, Ronza, I
have work to do.
As I do, home in Candor, where they need me. As for Earth, well, I guess there's only one Superman.
It is the day before Christmas in Washington, D.C., where final preparations are underway for the tree lighting ceremony on the White House lawn. We join newscaster Jimmy Olsen as he moves through the crowd outside the fence.
Hi, everybody. What a day this is. There's an excitement in the air like you wouldn't believe. Never saw so many happy faces. The holiday spirit is so strong you can almost feel it. Excuse me, sir. I'm Jimmy Olsen, WGBS TV. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Sure.
How do you like Washington?
Great.
What do you think of that tree up there?
Fantastic. I'm from Oregon, and I know something about trees, and I tell you that's got to be the biggest Christmas tree ever. Make a great show when the lights go on.
Thank you, sir. And you, ma'am, what do you think of all this?
Beautiful, just beautiful. I can hardly wait until tonight. It will be almost as beautiful as stars over my home state of Alabama.
Thank you, ma'am. And you, sir, have you ever been to one of these?
And while Jimmy Olsen continues his interviews, we switch to the WGBS studios in Metropolis, where Lois Lane and Clark Kent are watching a studio monitor.
Isn't he doing a great job, Clark? And on his first big assignment.
Sure is. And so is the cameraman, getting some great close-ups. Matter of fact, I thought I saw someone
Oh, look, that young couple and their little daughter. Listen.
And you say you're from Ohio?
Right, first time in Washington.
And it's also wonderful. When are they going to turn on the lights, Daddy?
Right after dark, Amy. And it'll be the biggest, brightest, most beautiful Christmas tree you ever saw. It'll light up the whole lawn.
Will it light up the whole world, Daddy? Light up the whole world?
Oh, Clark, isn't she
Light up the
adorable?
whole world. Light up the whole world. Light up the whole...
Clark, what's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just a little headache. It'll go away. Think I'll just go out for a little air. Walk down by the river.
But something was wrong, and the Man of Steel felt a deep uneasiness grip his whole being. That face I saw in the crowd during Jimmy's interviews and what the little girl said light up the whole world. Somehow they go together like parts of a puzzle, but I can't seem to make them fit. If only I could remember. And as he walks along, racking his brain for answers that don't come, he sees the UN building ahead and decides to go in and listen to the debate in the Security Council in an overtime session.
And in conclusion, I wish to place my government irrevocably on record in favor of this giant step forward on the road to peace. Thank you.
It is my great privilege and honor as chairman to announce that the Security Council of the United Nations has this day voted unanimously in favor of the resolution banning the use of all nuclear weapons. I wish to thank the delegates for their devotion to duty and their self-sacrifice in giving up so much of their holiday time so that this legislation could be completed.
That is good news, and it's about time. Banning nuclear weapons is the best... Nuclear weapons! That's it! That face in the crowd. It was Thurston Kilgore, the great nuclear physicist. The last time I saw him was, a Senate committee hearing 8 years ago.
Let me see if I understand you correctly, Dr. Kilgore. You say we now have nuclear superiority enough to deter...
Not just superiority, Senator, and not just a deterrent. We have the capacity to destroy our enemies at one stroke, right now, today.
You mean...
I mean we should launch our nuclear missiles immediately.
Without warning of any kind?
Without warning, without delay, without mercy. Wipe them all out.
You would destroy over 600 million human beings, men, women, children, just like that?
Just like that. Ha ha ha! It will be the greatest display of man-made firepower in the history of the universe.
He's mad!
America will be the master of the world for 1,000 years.
That will be all, Dr. Kilgore.
No one will dare oppose us. No one.
Remove that man.
We will remake every government in the world in our image. And those that oppose us.
One of the most brilliant scientists of our time had obviously lost his mind and had to be confined in a mental institution. Diagnosed a hopeless case. A hopeless case? Running loose on the streets of Washington. Great Krypton! I've got to get down there right now. This is a job for... Superman!
As the mightiest man in the world races through the darkening sky, little does he realize how justified his fears are. At that very moment in his secret laboratory not far from the White House, Thurston Kilgore is talking.
Ah, you're awake, my young friend. Good. Soon you will have the privilege of being part of the greatest Christmas happening in 2,000 years. Oh, all right. I'll remove the gag. But it's no use trying to call for help. No one can hear you. Hold still a minute. Ah, there you are.
I don't understand. Who are you? And what's the big happening you're talking about? And why are you holding me in this place?
I am Thurston Kilgore, scientist. But soon I shall be Thurston Kilgore, master of the world.
Master of the world? You've got to be kidding.
Kidding? Not at all. You see these television screens? I'll turn on number 1. What do you see?
The White House. The Christmas tree on the lawn.
And here's number 2. Now, what do you see?
I'm not sure. Looks like, yeah, a missile at a rocket site.
Very good. That rocket, by the way, is ready for immediate launching and carries a payload of 5 nuclear warheads, each 100 times as powerful as the Hiroshima bomb.
But what has this got to do with...
Patience, young man. Patience. And now, screen number 3.
Another rocket.
And 4. And 5. And 6. There you are. The whole picture.
5 multiple-head rockets.
All tied to the controls in the war room of the Pentagon and targeted on our enemies.
But the only person authorized to push the button is...
Yes?
The President of the United States.
Precisely.
But we're not at war, and he's not about to push that button.
Quite right. Not that button, and not knowingly. But there are buttons and buttons.
I still don't...
Like the button that will turn on the lights on that beautiful Christmas tree.
On the White House lawn?
Right.
You mean to say that button is tied into the rocket launch system you just showed me?
Now you're getting it. It's tied in by a remote control circuit I secretly installed.
And when the president pushes the button that lights the tree... Good Lord.
For a brief moment, the lights will go on. And then a bomb concealed in one of the tree ornaments will detonate, destroying everyone in the immediate area.
Including the president?
Especially the president. And simultaneously, 5 beautiful rockets will soar like avenging angels through the night sky. And when they reach their targets, they will light up the whole world.
But what have I got to do with all this? Why hold me?
Because you, my young friend, are the bait in a trap I have set to capture and eliminate once and for all the only man who could possibly interfere with my plan, Superman.
Isn't this exciting? What time will they turn on the lights, Harry?
Gee, I don't know. Should be any time now.
Will we be able to see the president from here?
I think so. We got here early enough to pick a good spot. Hey, mister, watch where you're going. Oh, my gosh, it's Superman.
I'm sorry, sir. I was looking for a young newscaster, Jimmy Olsen. He was interviewing people right around here a little while ago. Have you seen him?
Oh, sure. He interviewed us.
Did you see where he went?
Last we saw, I went over to that van over there.
Oh, the WGBS mobile unit. Thanks. Nobody here. What's this on the seat? A note addressed to me. If you want to see Jimmy Olsen alive, come to the top floor of the warehouse at the end of L Street. Signed TK. TK. Thurston Kilgore, so I was right. He was the one I saw on TV.
And at that moment, a cheer goes up from the crowd.
Hey, look, it's the president!
I know there's something wrong here, something involving the president, but I don't know what it is, and I have to go save Jimmy. Well, this is the warehouse, but I don't...
Come in, Superman. The door's open.
Kilgore.
Welcome, Superman.
Where's... Oh, Jimmy, there you are. Are you all right?
So far, but you've got to stop him, Superman. He's going to...
Don't worry. I'll take care of him.
You'll take care of nothing, Superman. You're through.
Superman. What's wrong?
I feel weak, dizzy.
And soon you will feel nothing. This machine duplicates the deadly rays of green kryptonite, the only substance that can destroy the mighty Superman. And so I leave you both. In a few minutes, you, Superman, will be dead. And my crypto ray machine will self-destruct, wiping out all evidence of my connection with this place, including you, little Jimmy.
If only I could get loose.
Ta-ta, both of you. I'm off in my armored car to watch the president light up the world.
And just today, the day before Christmas, the United Nations Security Council, in extraordinary session, voted unanimously to ban all nuclear weapons. On this glorious night before Christmas, therefore, there is more hope than ever that peace on earth and goodwill to all mankind can become a reality.
Come on, get on with it. Get on with it. Light up the tree, Mr. President.
And so, with great joy in my heart, I press the button that will light up this beautiful symbol of brotherhood and love.
And just as his finger touches the button, the figure of the mightiest man on earth swoops down out of the sky.
It's Superman!
Tears one of the ornaments off the tree and hurls it high into the night sky, where it explodes harmlessly with a roar.
Now the president is safe at least, but I was too late to prevent the rockets from being fired. Got to stop them somehow.
And then occurred one of the most incredible events in the history of the world. Crisscrossing the skies at unbelievable speed, a man of steel flies to each of the 5 rockets in rapid succession, changes their course in mid-flight, and heads them on a collision course with the sun, where their death-dealing potential will be fused with the life-giving energy of Earth's great star. Later, back at the WGBS studios in Metropolis.
What an incredible story, Jimmy.
By sheer luck, my chair fell over as I struggled to break the ropes I was tied up with. And I fell against Kilgore's crypto ray machine, knocking it over and putting it out of action.
With the rays stopped, of course, Superman's strength returned.
And since Kilgore had shown me where the bomb on the Christmas tree and all the rockets were located, I told Superman, and you know the rest.
What happened to Kilgore?
In a way, I feel kind of sorry for him. The failure of his plan was too much for his twisted mind, and the police picked him up, babbling like a baby on the White House lawn.
Clark Kent, where in the world have you been?
Well, I hate to admit it, but I was tired and went up to my room for a nap. What did I miss?
I go on the air at midnight. Listen, and you'll find out.
You're on, Miss Lane.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Lois Lane with the latest WGBS inside story of how Superman saved the life of the president and prevented World War III in what will probably go down as one of the greatest Christmases.
It was close to midnight. Lois and I had just taken in a movie and were walking home along Park Drive, passing the Metropolis Museum of Art, when the cry for help came.
Help! Help! Please! Help!
Up there, Clark, on the museum steps.
Yeah, I see him.
Help! Help! Please!
It's one of the museum guards. He's wounded.
It's inside the Hall of Gems. Star of Bangalore. All of it.
He passed out.
Lois, you get on the phone. Ambulance and police. I'll check this out. The Hall of Gems was on the 3rd floor. I made it in double time and came in on a shambles. Broken glass, exhibit cases smashed, another guard slightly wounded and leaning over a man in a stocking mask. You get it bad?
Just a scratch. I'll be all right.
Is this one of them?
Yeah, they all wore masks like this.
Let me get it off. Well, what do you know? Little Teddy Bunce.
You know him?
Small-time jewel thief. This is a big job for him.
Can't.
Hello, Teddy.
Can't listen.
Who was in on it with you, Teddy?
Listen. The ice. The ice.
He dead?
Yes.
What did he mean, the ice?
It's an underworld term for jewels, and by the looks of it, they got away with plenty. By early morning, most of the preliminary police work had been finished. Photographs, dusting for prints, coroner's report. Detective Lieutenant Joe Harsky had been assigned to the case. Joe, you got a minute?
Sure.
How are the guards?
One died this morning, the other will be okay.
What's the story on the jewels?
Quite a haul, over $2 million worth, counting the Star of Bangalore. Enough ice to cool a small tropical island.
The Star of Bangalore. Some kind of sapphire, if I remember right.
One of the world's largest. All part of the Newton collection.
That's Owen Newton over there, isn't it?
None other. The playboy of the Western world, and a very nasty number. See you, kids.
Come on, Lois. Let's have a little talk with Mr. Newton. Owen Newton?
Who'd want to know?
Clark Kent. This is Lois Lane.
Press?
The Daily Planet.
I'm not impressed.
What does impress you, Mr. Newton?
Certainly not the superb security of the Metropolis Museum. The collection was on loan, and see what happened? They must hire basket cases for guards.
One of those guards is dead, Newton, protecting your gems.
If he'd been a better man to be alive, and the collection would still be here.
Lois, let's get some fresh air.
Good idea. More coffee?
Thanks. You want your eggs fried?
Sunny side, if the waitress ever comes.
Owen Newton. Likeable sort.
When he's asleep.
What do you know about him?
Scion of a wealthy family. Just came into the fortune a couple of years ago. Playboy type. Very irresponsible. Gambles a lot. Invests heavily in shows, films. Most of them losers.
Then he may have gone through all the money.
That's the rumor.
In which case, the insurance covering the Newton collection would be a welcome windfall.
You don't think he stole his own jewels, do you?
It's been done before, Lois. And in this case, there'd be a double charge. Larceny and murder. Some checking up led to a number of facts. One, the Newton collection had been heavily insured. And when I talked to Joe Harsky again at police headquarters...
Newton's up to his neck in debt, Clark.
How so?
Gambling, mostly. He owes the syndicate, and those boys don't like to be owed very long.
He's also put a lot of money into flop shows, I hear.
Most of them, but not the one in town now, Isorama, I think it's called. That one's supposed to be pretty good.
Nothing's turned up on the Star of Bangalore or the other stones, I guess.
Not a sign. We've checked every fence here and across the country, courtesy of the FBI. But then we didn't expect anything.
Why not?
That ice is too hot, especially the Star of Bangalore. It's known all over the world. To cut that stuff down, whoever has it would have to get it out of the country.
To Amsterdam.
Probably, and that wouldn't be easy.
No doubt. Well, thanks, Joe. You've been helpful.
Glad to be of service.
That show Newton's producing, what's the name of it?
Isorama.
Think I'll take it in. The Isorama was being presented at the Metropolis Coliseum. Lois and I got a couple of press passes and were pleasantly surprised after we sat down. It was a big extravaganza on ice, featuring the best ice skating dancers and acrobats in show business, and a variety of musical numbers. The production was top flight, the music tuneful, the girls beautiful, and the colorful costumes glittered and sparkled under the spotlights.
I've never seen such skating.
Well, you haven't seen me yet.
I'll bet. Maybe this show will bail Newton out.
Maybe.
The costumes are stunning, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
Look at that.
It's called a full axel.
How do you know so much? You'll have to show me sometime. I'd like to see you do that one. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
As we were filing out of the Coliseum, we passed Owen Newton standing near one of the office doors.
Very impressive, Mr. Newton.
Huh? Oh, it's you again.
Good show.
No doubt we'll get a pan from the Daily Planet.
Not if I can help it.
Doesn't matter anyway. We're taking it out.
Oh? Why?
Going on a tour of Europe.
When?
Leaving tomorrow.
The next day at the Planet, I couldn't get my mind off Owen Newton, his show, his leaving for Europe, the Newton collection of jewels, the Star of Bangalore. It was like a jigsaw puzzle, the pieces scattered, and one missing.
Are you here or out to lunch?
Huh? Oh, sorry, Lois.
I've seen some daydreaming, but never like this.
I'm doing a jigsaw puzzle.
That's nice. Where are the pieces?
In my head.
Well, if you put them all down on the table, maybe I can help.
Lois, remember Teddy Bunce, what he said?
Teddy who?
Teddy Bunce, the jewel thief who died at the museum. His last words.
The ice.
Right, the ice. What did he mean?
Well, the jewels. The Newton collection. The Star of Bangalore, the ice.
Not exactly.
I don't follow.
Those costumes were stunning, you said.
What costumes?
At the show last night.
Now I'm really lost.
Excuse me.
Where are you going?
Where the Iceman goeth, I goeth. See you later. I did the quick change act to Superman in a phone booth. A little checking at the airport, and then called Joe Harsky.
Lieutenant Harsky.
Superman here.
Superman?
Suppose we meet at Metropolis International, Flight 509, Intercontinental Airlines.
Why?
The Star of Bangalore, and the entire Newton collection is on board. I'm on my way right now. It was only a few seconds to the airport, but still I was late. Newton's flight was starting down the runway when I arrived. Figuring it would be easier to keep the plane on the ground and order it back in midair, I zoomed down to the big jet's nose, reversed my direction, and flying backwards in front of the flight deck, waved my arms in a stop signal. The pilot looked at me goggle-eyed and then ordered reverse thrust.
What's going on here?
Take her back to the gate, Captain.
Why?
You're overloaded with ice. Back at the gate, Lieutenant Harsky was waiting for me with a very angry group of passengers. Not the least of them, Owen Newton.
I demand to know what's going on here. I demand it.
Take it easy, Newton.
I'll have your badge for this, Lieutenant.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Superman, where's the ice?
Have you got the Ice-Orama wardrobe trunks out of the cargo hatch?
Over here. Well?
Just a second.
What are you doing?
X-ray eyes, Lieutenant. Just want to make sure it's the right trunk. Yes, open that one.
Wait a minute, you can't do it.
Easy, Newton. We've got a warrant. Open it, Kelly. Okay, Superman, now what?
Look at this, Lieutenant. A very colorful costume, right?
So, it's a dress with a lot of sequins and paste jewelry on it.
Not so fast. This particular stone, this sapphire, isn't paste. It's real, Lieutenant. The original Star of Bangalore.
You sure?
My X-ray eyes. And these sequins aren't sequins, they're diamonds. You'll find the rest of the Newton collection sewn into the other costumes.
What do you know about that? So, when little Teddy Bunce said the ice...
He was trying to say the Ice-Orama, Newton's plan for getting the jewels to Amsterdam.
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a jewel of a city fronting on the blue Atlantic just north of the Tropic of Capricorn. When it's winter in Metropolis, it's summer in Rio. And a beautiful summer it was when Lois and I were there. We were covering a story on the World Banking Committee meeting. Dull stuff, but it left me local color and great food. The day it all started, we were seated in a small sidewalk cafe in the Copacabana, overlooking the sea. The sun was bright, the weather balmy.
This is absolutely scrumptious, Clark. What's it called?
Churrasco misto.
It's like a shish kebab.
With a Brazilian accent.
What's in it?
Beef, pork, all kinds of things.
The sauce is out of this world.
What's that?
I don't know. Abellas! Abellas! What's she saying?
I don't know.
Vamos!
Abellas!
It's the bees! It's the bees!
Lois, look at the sky.
Clark, that's impossible.
Take a beehive and multiply it by 1 million. That should give you some idea of what we were looking at. It was as if every hive in the world had been dropped in the city of Rio. The skies to the north and west were black with insects. The drone was deafening. And these bees weren't the ordinary garden variety of yellowjacket. These were killer bees. They dropped down on the Copacabana to the north, and we watched them approach in a black wave, swarming into open windows, alighting in droves on people in the street, screaming down from the skies, and even attacking cars. Lois and I made it to the lobby of our hotel just a couple of 100 yards away. Doors were locked behind us, windows closed, blinds drawn. But hundreds were still left in the street, and they crushed against the doors, pounded at the glass.
How long will it last?
I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
They've got to let those people in.
Come on, Lois. Let's get up to our rooms and see if we can get a line out of here.
They've smashed a window. The bees are coming in.
Into the elevator.
What floor are we on?
10. Let's hope we get there before the bees.
few of them got in.
I got one.
Chalk up 2 more. Only 2 stings, so you might say we came out on top. In the room with the air conditioner going and door tightly shut, we could breathe a sigh of relief. While Lois tried to reach Metropolis, I stared out the window. The bees were disappearing,
Hello?
lifting upward in great
Hello?
swarms and buzzing north
Yes,
and west.
operator.
But they had
I'll
left
wait.
their toll. Along the Copacabana, on the beach, in the side streets, hundreds lay dead and dying.
I've got the planet.
Tell Jimmy to send down a can of DDT.
Hello? Chief? Lois Lane. Of course we're still in Rio. Oh, fine. This place is just a hive of activity. Never mind the World Banking Committee. Listen to this.
Lois filled in what we knew at that point, and later we learned the full facts on television. There were 107 dead, hundreds more in critical condition. Brasilia had been attacked, and being closer to the jungles, their casualties were twice those of Rio. At the airport, a landing jet had its engines clogged with the insects and crashed in flames. That night, a meeting was called at the government house, and since we were press, Lois and I covered it.
I believe most of you know me. I'm the Minister of Defense. But very frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I find myself at a loss to suggest anything to defend our country against this strange invader. Let me give you a short report. The bees seem to be rising both in the Mato Grosso and the Amazon basin. They have attacked not only our city of Rio, but also Brasilia, Manaus, and points north as far as Trinidad. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, they seem to be threatening the Caribbean islands and even Miami in the southern United States. Now, may I present someone who might have an answer? I am only a politician. Dr. Ramirez is one of our leading entomologists, a bug expert, in case you wonder.
Let me get rid of a few bugaboos at the very beginning. We can use DDT. We can turn to other insecticides. We can try smoke. We can poison the bees. But, ladies and gentlemen, the bees are in such abundance that we shall also poison our populace.
The meeting went on for over 2 hours. A lot of talk, a lot of shouting. But in the end, no real answers. When it broke up, Lois and I introduced ourselves to Dr. Ramirez and took him out for a cup of Brazilian coffee.
One thing I don't understand, Dr. Ramirez. What brought the bees to Rio, to Brasilia, to the other cities? What brought them out of the jungle in the first place?
Who can say, Miss Lane? Some upset perhaps in the balance of nature, insufficiency of food, some freak accident.
Ordinary bees are pollinizers. They're attracted to certain flowers.
The killer bees are no different.
In which case, couldn't we lure them back into the jungle?
How?
By imitating, artificially producing the scents that attract them.
A splendid idea, Mr. Ken. But you would need such great quantities.
Not if a super concentrate could be developed and liquefied.
I don't get it.
Dr. Ramirez, can you show us the plants and give us samples of the odors that attract the bees?
Of course.
Oh, you're thinking of the aromatics industry, right?
Right.
Aromatics?
It's a whole new industry, Dr. Ramirez. Really big business. Room deodorizers with built-in scents, furniture waxes, even clothing. They can duplicate almost any scent or fragrance in the world.
But how long would it take? And how would you use it?
Details, Dr. Ramirez, mere details. We'll work them out later. Right now, I think we better put our noses to the grindstone. Or the flowers. Dr. Ramirez provided samples of the scents, and they were air-shipped to aromatic chemical manufacturers throughout the world. Phone calls, telegrams, and cables flew between Europe, North America, and Asia. The bees had returned to Rio, to Brasilia, and mounted new attacks on the Caribbean islands. But a week later, the first shipments of the duplicated scents were flown into Rio. Contained in giant cylindrical steel tanks, liquefied under high pressure, they were offloaded on the waterfront. It was time to put my plan to the test.
Now that you've got the concentrate, what are you going to do with it?
Me? Nothing. I was thinking of Superman.
But he's not here. And how do you know where he is? And what if you can't...
No time for idle chatter, Lois.
Where are you going?
Government house. I just got an idea.
Clark, wait for me.
No time. I charged out of the hotel into the night, found a telephone booth, ducked in, performed my Superman quick change act, and took off. In seconds, I reached the waterfront and found the cylinders neatly laid out on the docks. I picked up about a dozen. They were just what we'd ordered. The aromatic liquefied and the cylinders made with push-button valves, very much like an aerosol can. The scent could be let out in a stream or in short bursts. I tested a couple, headed upward, and waited for daylight. The bees came early, not long after dawn. The city below was at a standstill, not a soul in sight. They clogged the skies to the west and north like a giant black curtain, rising out of the jungles of the Mato Grosso and Amazon in the millions. Since I was the only tasty morsel in sight, they made a beeline for me. And I let go with the first cylinder. Nothing happened. The bees were all over me, screaming, stinging, angry. Of course, they couldn't penetrate my skin, but that didn't make me feel any happier. If my great idea didn't work, the city of Rio and maybe the rest of the world would be at their mercy. I figured the first cylinder was a dud and threw it far out into the sea. I tried the second. The first one had been a dud. This time, the bees went crazy, tearing into the cloud of concentrated scent like angry dogs, fighting each other, tearing the skies apart. Now I knew I had them. It was a simple matter to back up and leave a trail of scent before me. The bees followed the bursts of gas like fish on a chum line. I went backwards faster and faster, and they kept up with me. Soon the city of Rio disappeared. The countryside spread out below, and the first foliage of jungles appeared. The skies above Rio and Brasilia were clear, and the bees were back in the jungle where they belonged. All that remained now was to pick up more of the cylinders and do the same for Caracas, Trinidad, and the Caribbean. That would take a little time, of course, but would also give me an opportunity to think up some excuse for Lois about where Clark Kent had been. No doubt she'd have a bee in her bonnet about it.
A few diehards, hoping to catch the last rays of the setting sun, lie on their blankets amongst the tin-can litter and broken glass of Crystal Beach.
That sun feels good.
Oh boy, what a day! Hey.
Tan me, son! Suddenly, from out of the pounding surf, a million minnows in a mad dance formation squirm their way onto the beach and completely cover one of the unsuspecting bathers. Screams of panic are heard as both blanket and bather are pulled into the sea. Up on the boardwalk stand two horrified onlookers, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, both reporters for Galaxy Communications, who happen to be visiting Crystal Beach to cover a Rotary Club meeting.
Call Galaxy, Lois. I'm going down to help. Hurry!
Lois Lane rushes to a nearby phone booth and reaches Clark Kent, anchorman on the evening news, at his office.
Clark, it's incredible. A school of minnows at Crystal Beach seems to be going mad. There are millions of them. Jimmy's trying to help. Oh, good heavens. They've got Jimmy. Hurry, Clark. I'm going to call the police.
And on the beach, Jimmy's cries are drowned out by an immense flounder on his back as he is carried out to sea, while at WGBS, Clark Kent, now miraculously changed into Superman, opens the window of his office.
I don't know what the meaning of this is, but it sounds to me like a job for Superman.
And, streaking across the metropolis sky, Superman's X-ray vision spots Jimmy and the hapless sunbather as they're being dragged under the murky surf for what might just be the last time. Meanwhile, on a nearby tidal marsh, birdwatcher Bill Talon is taking notes on some very strange bird behavior.
Those gulls have been circling longer than I've ever seen before.
Suddenly, Talon picks up his binoculars.
Good heavens! They're all flying upside down. I think I'll call my friend Perry White about this one.
Mystified, Talon reports the strange occurrence to his longtime friend, Perry White, editor of the Metropolis Daily Planet.
Yes, Bill. Very interesting. Yeah, I'll send Jimmy Olsen out to check on this immediately. Well, Clark? Where's Jimmy Olsen? Clark!
Unable to locate Jimmy, Perry stops by the office of Clark Kent, Jimmy's longtime friend and co-worker.
Clark! Oh, for gosh sakes, they're both gone. Where is that Clark? Biggest story in days.
While at Crystal Point, Superman dives down into the sea and pulls the two drowning victims to the boardwalk, where Lois Lane has been anxiously watching the macabre scene taking place on the beach.
Oh, Superman, thank goodness you've arrived. How did you know?
No time for answers now, Lois. I've got to find out what's causing this strange behavior in our fish population.
As he looks out toward the crashing ocean, Superman's X-ray eyes and high-intensity ears detect the high-pitched voices and forms of 7 bottle-nosed dolphins.
If anyone can give me the answer to this riddle, I'll get it from the teachers, not the school. Wait here, Lois.
Up, up, then, in a dive that takes the Man of Steel hundreds of feet beneath the fouled waters, Superman swims down, faster than an atomic submarine, and finally settles in the depths of the murky waters and begins to decipher and learn the unique porpoise language.
Yes? I understand. Your aquasphere has recently been polluted by a foul-smelling substance. All the fishes in the Crystal Point area have been overcome by what? Oh, you call it the tidal marsh madness. And because you dolphins breathe air, you have not gone mad, but you're having much trouble. Your eyesight's been affected. Acne. Sore throats, huh? Oh, my poor friends. We must do something immediately about these hideously polluting substances in our waters.
Far beyond the power of man's sciences, Superman's supervision rapidly breaks down the substances composing the hideous pollutant as he makes a mental note of each chemical substance in its relationship to the horrible whole.
Thank you, friends, for the invaluable information you've given me.
Superman thanks the wise dolphins for their help and in one great jump rises out of the waters of Crystal Point. While at the Daily Planet, Perry is still pondering over the strange story of the upside-down gulls and finally decides to leave a note for Clark Kent just as Superman appears in Clark's office window.
Great Scott, Superman. Can't you use the door? You frighten me to death. Well, I must admit, I'm certainly glad you're here.
Perry tells Superman Bill the Birdwatcher's strange story.
Very interesting. Now, Perry, where's your map of Metropolis? Aha, just as I suspected.
Just as Superman suspected, the bird sanctuary is located right next to the site of the new experimental biochem industrial complex.
Birds upside down. Mad minnows. Pardon the pun, Perry, but something's fishy, and it all begins to add up to that new factory next to the tidal marsh.
And at Biochem Industries, the floodgates have just been closed and all evidence of the day's experiments washed out to sea. Metropolis seems very peaceful as Superman races across the moonless sky.
I've got to get a look at what's going on at that plant, and I think I can do that best in the guise of Clark Kent.
Screeching to a stop on the now deserted beach, Superman returns to his role as Clark Kent and rings the bell of the Biochem Industrial Complex. Beside the lead-plated barred door, a night watchman answers the bell.
Who are you? What do you want? I'm sorry to disturb you, but I've got some transportation difficulties and I'm stranded out here. Could I use your phone?
Well, son, I'm sorry, but no one's allowed into this place except those who belong here.
What do you mean? Listen, all I want to do is use your phone. What is this place, anyway? What do they do here?
This is the Biochem Industrial Laboratories, and what they do here, well, it's top secret, mister, and it's nobody's business but our own.
The night watchman slams the door in Clark's face, but not before Superman's X-ray eyes have easily beamed past the watchman and into the lab, where, with his supervision, he can see that the vials contain all the chemicals necessary to manufacture the foul stuff he has just seen in the ocean, and where, with Superman's super nose, he can smell the same hideous odor discernible in the filthy waters at Crystal Point. And at the very same moment, in his enormous mansion overlooking the tidal marsh, Brian Sanders, president of Biochem, is holding a meeting of the board of directors of the corporation. Brian pounds his gavel on the table to call the meeting to order.
We have only one thing for discussion tonight, and that's our experiment. We must press ahead quickly. If we work fast enough, we'll easily outmaneuver our competitors, and very soon Biochem will control the whole chemical market completely.
But, Brian, to continue in this matter is to risk our environment, and I, for one, will not...
That's enough, Dr. Main.
But...
You're fired.
But...
Suddenly...
Superman!
Just as I thought, it's you, Brian Sanders. You have put yourself above all that we value and cherish in Metropolis. You're as ugly and useless as the aluminum cans that litter the shore of Crystal Beach and too many other beaches of the world.
No, Superman! This was only going to be a temporary situation. Please believe me. I must gain control of the market. If I do, maybe people will respect me as they respect you. Oh, please, Superman, I must be allowed to continue my experiment.
Respect? Have you ever heard of the tidal marsh madness, Sanders? Have you ever seen an innocent bather swept into the sea by millions of mad, mindless minnows? Have you ever noticed the murky waters at what used to be called Crystal Clear Beach?
Sanders begins to weep.
What have I done? I would never dream of doing anything to make you angry, Superman. I've searched for power only so you and others would look up to me. What can I do now, Superman? Is there anything I can do to make amends?
Simply understand that to be number one at the expense of all other living creatures is to be zero.
At a hard rock concert at Metropolis Stadium, 80,000 screaming kids are dancing in the aisles to the great beat of the Tones, the world's most popular rock group. The stage is heavily guarded by 550 special police who know how excited and exuberant the Tones fans get at their concerts and who are there to protect the group in case things get out of hand. In real life, the Tones are brothers, and Jimmy Tone, the group's lead singer and lead guitarist, is halfway through their latest hit song when suddenly Jimmy drops his guitar and stares up at the sky as though mesmerized by what he sees hovering directly over the stage. Slowly, a net is lowered out of the belly of the jet helicopter. The crowd has spotted the copter too, and a frantic scream goes up as their fans realize the Tones are about to be scooped up into the net and carried off.
I don't believe this. Let's get out of here.
But it's too late. In seconds, the net drops over the stage, picks up all 5 Tones, and the helicopter flies off. Within 5 minutes of the spectacular kidnap stunt, the phone rings in Clark Kent's apartment. Kent happens to be a great fan of the Tones, and faint strains of their hit song can be heard in the background.
Hello?
Clark, it's Lois. Get to Metropolis Stadium as soon as you can. The Tones have just been kidnapped, right in front of 80,000 people. No one knows what's happening or who's done it. I'll meet you on the stage.
The Tones? Kidnapped? I'll be there in 30 minutes or less. No leads. Well, I have 30 minutes or less to meet Lois, so I think I'll hop over to Metropolis Stadium now as Superman.
And on stage at Metropolis Stadium, confusion. Police and stagehands are fighting to keep the Tones' frantic fans off the stage. Superman approaches Police Chief Edwards, who tells him what's happened and introduces him to the promoter of the show, Bill Freeman.
Unbelievable, Superman. The greatest rock group in the world. I had to refund 80,000 tickets. I don't believe it.
Lois Lane appears on the stage.
Superman, this is incredible. A kidnapping in broad daylight in front of 80,000 people.
Lois, this can only be the work of Dr. B. He's obsessed with the idea of building a supercomputer which will enable him to take over the world.
I'm sure you're right, Superman. B's always had a great sense of the dramatic. Oh, where is Clark? He's missing the whole story.
The last time I saw B, stranded on an island in the middle of the Dead Sea. Their half-completed computer and all means of transportation to the mainland, all smashed beyond repair. Okay, Lois, I'm off to check on B's recent whereabouts and his activities. I'll talk to you later.
Almost immediately after Superman's departure, Clark Kent appears on the scene.
What happened? What's going on?
We'd better get right back to the Galaxy building. I'll fill you in on the way.
Meanwhile, in the tower apartment of Dr. B, high above Metropolis, the Tones have been fed tranquilizers and are piled in a heap on the living room floor, out cold. Dr. B's assistant associate, Domino, is muttering to himself.
Ugly-looking bunch, if I must say so myself.
One by one, the Tones begin to wake up, moaning and groaning.
My head. Oh, where are we? What a party. Must have been great.
All at once, the boys realize what's happened as they note their strange surroundings, and simultaneously...
Hey, what's the meaning of this?
Control yourself, Tones. Shortly you'll meet Dr. B. He'll tell you what's happened, and what's going to happen. In the meantime, you'll do as I say. Understand?
Just then, Dr. B enters the room.
I see our guests have awakened, Domino. Yes, you are my guest, Tones, in my tower apartment, hidden away from the eyes of the world, and most particularly from the X-ray eyes of Superman. You see, the walls of my apartment are lined with lead. We're in an impenetrable fortress high above Metropolis. And by the time Superman is able to locate us, I will already have succeeded in manufacturing artificial kryptonite through the means of the giant computer, which I will be able to build immediately upon receipt of the proceeds which I receive as your ransom money.
What?
I can assure you you'll be held in captivity until I receive $1 each from 10 million of your fans for your release. And if I haven't received $10 million by this time next week, I'm afraid I'll be forced to take unpleasant measures to assure its receipt.
But why us?
Why you? Because your group is the most popular rock group in the world. Your fans can't live without you. And I need a lot of money. Fast.
What giant computer?
The giant computer which will be the basis for the super city I'll put in orbit over Metropolis and the planet Earth. The computer which will make me king bee of a world hive. Everyone in the world will work for me and for my pleasures. My computer will make me more powerful than Superman has been or ever would have been if I were to allow him to survive.
I think you're crazy, Dr. B.
There are snickers from the Tones. Superman will never let you get away with this, you know.
I'm afraid Superman will have no choice in the matter. Last time we three met, Superman flew off thinking he had left us powerless and stranded on an island in the Dead Sea.
As though it were just yesterday, Domino vividly describes to the Tones the secret island in the Dead Sea where Dr. B was engaged in manufacturing artificial gold, with which he intended to finance the same computer.
If I were to alter the course of Comet Z and direct it toward Dr. B's hidden gold plant, B's factory would be smashed along with B's yacht and Piper Cub. He and Domino will be left harmless on their island, and the world will be saved from B's domination.
Comet Z smashed our factory and all means of transportation, but miraculously, Dr. B and I escaped.
Only to reemerge now with an equally bizarre scheme to gain a lot of money. And that evening, Clark Kent, anchorman for the 6 o'clock news on WGBS, is unceremoniously cut off in the middle of the story on the sensational kidnapping of the Tones. And Dr. B's face unaccountably appears on the screens of the television sets of everyone around the world.
Today, as you must already have learned, I kidnapped the Tones. Your idols will remain unharmed if and only if I receive $1 each from 10 million Tones fans within 7 days. You may mail your dollars to Post Office Box 65, Grand Station, Metropolis, USA. Zip 10004.
By the next day, the post office was flooded with letters addressed to Post Office Box 65. By the end of the day, over 4 million letters had already been received by Dr. B. And at Galaxy Communications, in the office of Perry White, fearless editor of the Daily Planet.
At least we know this much, Perry. Dr. B will stop at nothing in his pursuit to rule. Therefore, he must be stopped.
But how? He has the Tones and will hold them hostage in his impenetrable lead-lined fortress unless and until he manufactures his artificial kryptonite with which he'll then render you powerless.
It looks like I'll just have to build a better computer than B does. One that will outthink B's computer and render it harmless.
But what about the Tones?
Don't worry, Lois. The Tones will be all right. Their fans will free them. They'll probably send in $15 million, and Dr. B will release them before he discovers that I have put together a computer far more intelligent and advanced than his.
And indeed, 3 days later, the Tones are found bound and gagged under the stage at Metropolis Stadium. They'd been freed not 10 feet away from the spot from which they'd been kidnapped, and they weren't quite ready at that moment to get on with the show. While circling in the skies above the planet Earth, Dr. B has programmed his computer to produce artificial kryptonite particles, which he'll then feed into the Earth's atmosphere, thereby polluting the air with kryptonite and leaving Superman powerless forever.
Domino, throw the switch.
There it goes, Dr. V. But wait.
What's the matter?
There's something wrong here.
The indicator light is blinking red. What's happened?
That's the computer.
All right. Here comes the answer. What does it say?
The card reads, I have been superseded by another computer. That computer belongs to Superman, and it is much more intelligent than I. I can do nothing to harm Superman because his computer will blow my fuses if I ever make such an attempt.
I don't believe it! I don't believe it! Domino, throw the switch one more time.
As Domino throws the switch against the warning of the helpless computer, the fuses within the giant machine are blown with such force that B's circling city-to-be is thrown completely off its orbit and out into space, ostensibly free-falling for eternity, as Dr. B screams,
You think you're rid of me, Superman, but I'll be back, and next time I'll win!
In a crude laboratory in the basement of his home, D. Allison Weatherspoon, a brilliant young biophysicist, has been working on the invention of an alternate energy source to come to the aid of an oil-starved world. Today is Weatherspoon's 21st birthday.
At last. A catalyst to speed up the fermentation of quick-growing spores which give off a gaseous byproduct similar to marsh gas. The gas can be compressed and stored in tanks and can be used to run the new, virtually friction-free rotary engine I've developed. It will be called Voila! And it will provide a cheap, unlimited source of power for everyone and anyone.
Realizing the vast potential of his discovery, Weatherspoon decides to telephone WGBS and release the news to humanity.
Ah, what a great birthday present to myself. A present for the world. Now everyone will be capable of creating his own fuel. They can grow it in their backyards and store it in their basements.
Galaxy Communications, Clark Kent here.
Oh, Mr. Kent, you're anchorman on the 6 o'clock news, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Well, my name's D. Allison Weatherspoon, son of the famous physicist C. Allison Weatherspoon. Well, I've discovered an alternate source of energy to the limited sources we now know of and use today.
That's an astounding statement, Weatherspoon. Are you sure?
Well, of course I'm sure. Voila! Make it for yourself. How's that for a headline, huh? Do you understand what this will mean to the world? Oh, by the way, a personal note, Mr. Kent. Today is my 21st birthday, so, well, I'd like to make the announcement today. You understand?
Well, yes. Happy birthday, Weatherspoon. But listen, you can't announce your discovery just like that. First, of course, we have to make certain that it works.
What? Well, of course it works.
And once that's been established, we must make certain such a miracle fuel will be put to use. You remember the rumor of the gas pill that had only to be dropped in water?
Well, of course. And it was an excellent idea, too.
Ah, then you can see why your discovery must be kept top secret until the people are capable of controlling its use and making sure that such a fuel will be used only for the benefit of the people. Of all the people.
Yes, yes. You're quite right, Mr. Kent. You're quite right.
You must understand, Witherspoon, there are evil-minded persons in the world who will try to control your invention for their own selfish ends, and narrow-minded persons as well, who know only their own way of doing things and are afraid to try new ways, no matter how much better they might be.
Change is always frightening, but it is growth. Why? Why, oh why must power always corrupt?
All power corrupts, yes, although Superman...
You're right, though. Over the years, Superman has handled immense power and has always retained a sense of justice and fair play.
Well, Superman knows he could gain all, but if he were to try, he'd only lose it.
You know, Mr. Kent, while we've been talking, I've decided to place my invention in the hands of Superman. Well, he's just the person I need right now. A man with nothing to gain and nothing to lose. A man who's proved himself to be on the side of humanity.
I think that's a very good idea, Dr. Weatherspoon, and I think I know just where Superman can be found at this moment.
Incredible! You are a Superman, Mr. Kent. You've helped me out enormously with my problem. So what if I can't announce my discovery on my birthday? It won't kill me, huh? Well, anyway, today I received my inheritance from my father, and it includes a paper which was to be entrusted to me on my 21st birthday. I assume I'll be the inheritor of another of my father's fabulous inventions, as well as my own. Well, I can't wait to read my father's letter now. You may actually want to be present when I receive the envelope, Mr. Kent. You see, Perry White, editor of the Daily Planet, was one of my father's dearest friends, and he's the executor of my dad's estate. It's Uncle Perry who will be passing on to me my father's last words, which will undoubtedly be brilliant.
That's great news. I'll be there. But do me a favor. Don't leave your house or go anywhere until after you've seen Superman. Can you promise me that?
Well, Mr. Kent, sometimes the worst of times brings out the best in men, as my daddy always used to say. Imagine, a cheap and harmonious fuel with no noxious fumes. Voila!
Weatherspoon stands in awe before his simple engine, now fully aware of all its meaning and ramifications.
No, Mr. Kent. I won't leave. I won't be picking up Dad's letter until 3 o'clock this afternoon. In the meantime, I'll wait right here for Superman.
At the same time, in an abandoned subterranean atomic silo, 80 miles beneath the crust of the Earth, monitoring Allison's conversation with WGBS, the forces of evil, of protective device and self-interest, are gathering every bit of information they can get in an effort to put together a scheme to learn Weatherspoon's secret and thereby gain control of the miraculous fuel by whatever means necessary. Back in Weatherspoon's basement.
Now I can understand how Copernicus, Galileo, and Edison must have felt. Well, they were all links in the long chain of men whose Einsteinian minds must have formed the rungs of the ladder of thought that's led me to the great discovery of voila.
The bell rings, and Allison flicks on his videotape television alarm system. On the screen appears the familiar red and yellow S of Superman.
It's Superman. Wow, Kent sure found him fast.
Weatherspoon speaks into the walkie-talkie system. He is connected to his doorbell.
Superman, I'll be right up. I've been expecting you.
Allison races up the stairs, 2 at a time, opens the door, and at once feels a tiny prick of pain as one of the 2 thugs who's waiting beside the doorway plunges a giant hypodermic needle into Weatherspoon's right arm, a needle containing a combination of an instant sleep-inducing drug and a truth serum. The other thug takes down the picture of Superman's chest from in front of the camera of Weatherspoon's videotape alarm system, and Allison is tossed into the back of a waiting ambulance. The 2 men climb in after him, and the vehicle drives off. Moments later, Clark Kent, Jimmy Olsen, and Lois Lane pull up in front of Allison's modest home.
Look, that's funny. The door is slightly open.
Something strange here. That door shouldn't be open.
Jimmy and Lois stare at Clark, who has bent over to touch a minuscule drop of red on the doorstep. Clark speaks as if to himself.
Blood.
Clark, you're half blind. Don't be such an alarmist. I don't see anything there.
Still bemused by his discovery of a drop of type B blood on Weatherspoon's doorstep with the aid of Superman's X-ray eyes, Kent zooms in on a counter in Allison's laboratory.
Allison pricked his finger on a broken test tube last week. Sure enough, there's a spot of type B blood on the counter.
Anyway, Clark, you wouldn't know blood if you saw it. Anytime there's any danger, you're never around.
I'm a pacifist, Lois. I deplore violence.
So I've noticed.
Jimmy pushes open the door, and Clark and Lois follow him inside the house and down the stairs to the basement.
Dr. Weatherspoon, Allison, are you here?
As the trio walk down the stairs, Clark scans the house to confirm to himself what he already knows. Allison is gone.
Hey, look at this. Weatherspoon left a funny-looking engine going. He'd never go off and leave something like this running, would he?
My worst suspicions have been verified. If Allison's secret should become known to the wrong people, entire economic systems could be destroyed, an immediate empire could be built, and once again, mankind's the loser. This is a job for Superman. Jimmy, Lois, I just remembered I must... does anyone have an aspirin?
Uh-oh, looks like trouble. Clark's splitting, and every time Clark leaves, have you noticed, Lois? There's trouble.
As Clark runs back up the basement stairs and outside,
Clark, where are you going?
Clark spots a taxi and hails it.
I'm going back to the office in case Weatherspoon calls in. You 2 take the Galaxy limo and drive around the neighborhood and see if you can find him. Check with the neighbors. Maybe they know where he's gone off to. Galaxy Communications driver, and hurry.
Okay, Mac.
As the taxi pulls up in front of the Galaxy building, in the shelter of the cab and faster than any human eye can see, Kent leaves a dollar bill on the seat of the cab, changes into his natural role as Superman, and is flying through the sky above Metropolis on his way back to Weatherspoon's to pick up the trail of the missing scientist before the taxi driver can turn around to tell his passenger how much he owes him.
What? Where'd that guy go so fast? You think he was Superman?
Superman's X-ray vision spots the faint tracks of what might be an ambulance pulling away from in front of Allison's house.
That's interesting. First, a minuscule drop of blood on the doorstep that could easily have come from the prick of a hypodermic needle, and now looks like those tire tracks could have been made by an ambulance. Aha! There it is now, pulling up in front of the abandoned atomic silo site just outside the city. I can see nothing inside the silo. It's lead-lined, of course, due to possible atomic radiation.
Up, and then spinning himself rapidly around in a counterclockwise motion, his arms in dive position, Superman transforms himself into a human power drill and plunges down 80 feet below the Earth's surface, boring closer and closer toward the headquarters of CSDC, Counter System Development Center, headed by none other than Malcolm Mullick, known to his friends and enemies alike as Mole. Meantime, inside the silo...
Let's see whether or not the truth serum's taken effect on our friend Dr. Weatherspoon.
The drug administered to Weatherspoon has been perfectly timed so that as the sleeping potion wears off, the truth serum immediately begins to take effect. Allison moans, and his eyes flutter open.
Ah, Weatherspoon, your formula.
But Weatherspoon's psychological resistance to the truth serum is so strong that his whole body has gone rigid, as if he were paralyzed, and he can't even open his mouth to speak, even though, under the influence of the serum, he'd be more than willing to tell the truth to the Mole if he could. Mole, just about to grab Weatherspoon and shake him until he talks, steps back as Superman bursts through the lead side of the silo, throws his indestructible cape about the three men like they were three leftover Brussels sprouts about to be wrapped up in saran wrap and put in the refrigerator to keep.
I'll just knot this cape at the end here. There, that should hold you until I get back to pick up my cape. Weatherspoon, I've got to get you to the hospital immediately. I'll deal with you later, Mole.
Hours later, in an interview at Metropolis Hospital with Perry White and Clark Kent.
So that's the scoop, Clark. And when I woke up, Superman was gone. But I'd sure like to thank him. And I sure hope he's watching the evening news tonight.
I hope so too, Allison. Perry, can we bring the cameras in for a close-up? I'd like to get a picture of Allison opening the envelope his father left for him.
Certainly, Clark. Here it is, Allison. The envelope your father left with me as executor of his estate, to be handed over to you upon your 21st birthday, which is today.
Uncle Perry, you've been like a father to me since my own father's death. I'm feeling weak. Would you please read me what it says?
Of course, Allison. That's enough now, Clark. Get your cameras out of here and give us a little privacy.
Perry turns to Allison as everyone else leaves the hospital room, tears open the envelope, then begins to read.
2 cups peeled, cored, sliced green apples, 1/2 cup brown sugar, 1 tablespoon cinnamon. What on earth?
I don't understand.
1 egg, 2 tablespoons lemon juice.
Oh, no, Uncle Perry. It sounds like the recipe handed down to my mother from her mother, who, of course, got it from her mother. I think it's the recipe from my mom's green apple pie.
Great Scott.
It's a bright midsummer day in Metropolis, and there's not much news fit to televise at Galaxy Communications, where, in his office, Clark Kent is monitoring the 12 o'clock news.
Clear and sunny at 12 noon in downtown Metropolis. It's 92 degrees and getting hotter.
Lois Lane, ace reporter for Galaxy Communications, opens Clark's door and looks in.
Clark, I'm off for lunch.
Enjoy it, Lois. I think I'm going to take a nap.
Lois Lane leaves, and Clark lies back in his chair, only to be rudely awakened by...
Galaxy, Clark Kent here.
Dr. Tripper speaking of the Void Observatory.
Yes, Dr. Tripper. What can I do for you?
Well, it seems, Mr. Kent, my telescope is picking up a strange sort of, well, what I can only describe as an electrical storm, which is which is approaching the Earth rapidly. I thought the news media should be advised.
Clark immediately sends for Jimmy Olsen, investigative reporter for the Daily Planet.
Listen, Jimmy, take a ride out to Void Observatory and check out what's happening and let me know immediately. I'll be here.
Meanwhile, Perry White, editor of the Daily Planet, is hosting a luncheon in honor of Superman, which is being held on the 20th floor of the 50-floor Majestic Hotel. But Superman has not yet appeared to take his place of honor. As Jimmy disappears out the door, Clark Kent steps into the closet in his office.
I thought nothing would ever come up to get Lois and Jimmy out of here so I could get to that lunch on time.
And as Clark Kent, now Superman, whizzes out his office window to attend the lunch in his honor, Jimmy Olsen drives rapidly along a winding mountain road on his way to Void Observatory, site of the most powerful telescope in the world.
Wouldn't you know, I'd have to be the one to drive all the way out here in this heat. Whew! It must be 100 degrees in the shade and no rain in sight.
Jimmy's car pulls up to Void Observatory. He walks up to the lab and... As Jimmy waits for the door of the Void Observatory to open, he happens to glance up at the sky, where he notices a small dark cloud way up, far above the highest mountaintop.
Looks like storm clouds are gathering.
The immense door finally opens, and Dr. Tripper beckons Jimmy inside.
You must be from the news media. Now, your credentials, please.
Investigative reporter, Galaxy Communications.
Well, come in then. Come in, come on.
Jimmy steps inside the room and is immediately taken aback by the sight of the gigantic telescope which occupies the whole observatory.
Wow, Doctor, that thing's a monster. You ought to be able to see a storm coming up 1,000,000 miles away.
Yes, we can. And there is a storm coming up. But I've never sighted anything like this one before. Here, let me explain this.
Meanwhile, back in Metropolis, Lois Lane sits at the counter of the Greenall drugstore where she's finishing her lunch. A pineapple ice cream soda. And at the Majestic...
And so, Superman, although absolutely nothing has happened to disturb the citizens of Metropolis for some time now, and no one has needed your services, we want you to know we greatly appreciate all that you've done for us in the past.
As Perry presents Superman with a plaque from the Daily Planet, one of the guests looks out the window.
Hey, what's that?
What's going on here?
It's hailing!
It's hailing silver bullets.
As the luncheon guests mill around the room, holes appear in the ceiling. And silver bullets streak through the room to the floor below. Panic.
Help! Superman!
Help!
Help!
Now, I'd better go pick up Lois at Galaxy and get out to Void Observatory fast.
At the same time, caught outside in the street on her way back to work, Lois Lane dodges silver bullets. She runs toward the empty Galaxy offices and rushes into Clark Kent's office,
Clark?
where she finds only a television set going.
Reports from Moscow indicate a catastrophe's occurred. Since 6 o'clock this morning, we haven't heard a word. SOS, SOS, alien creatures are landing. Alien creatures are landing.
Lois stands, paralyzed, before the television set. Superman zooms through the window and comes to a screeching halt beside her.
Lois!
Superman, what is it? What's happening?
I don't know, Lois, but I have a hunch that Void Observatory is the place to find out. Let's go.
But Superman, where's Clark? I left him right here at his desk.
We'll have to look for Clark later. No time now.
And Superman and Lois are on their way to the observatory, where...
So you see, Jimmy, we have been in constant radio communication with particles of what seem to be an electrical storm. But we have had no way of interpreting the signals we've been receiving. Now, our next step...
Wait a minute, Dr. Tripper. Look! It's raining silver bullets! Oh, what's going on? They seem to be evaporating everything in their path.
Oh, good grief! I'm sure that... Well, I hope they're friendly.
Superman and Lois Lane appear through the open roof of the observatory and drop to the floor beside Jimmy and Dr. Tripper.
Superman, Superman, thank goodness you've come. But what are we going to do? I'm sure these alien creatures are friendly, but they're unwittingly destroying us, and we have no way of communicating with them.
Superman, you've got to do something.
If we can't talk to them, then we must communicate without words. ESP, thought transference. It's the only way. Everyone, concentrate.
With all the superhuman power at his disposal, Superman sets his great mind in gear to send out a message to these alien creatures who, in landing on the planet Earth, can only, albeit unintentionally, destroy it. Haltingly, Superman speaks.
They say they've had to leave their planet Zoink. Because it has become uninhabitable. They say that the planet Earth is a good place for them.
Once again, Superman focuses his mind power on the incredible problem of communicating with creatures who speak no language known to man.
Help me, everyone. Help me to explain.
And the birds, the trees, the earth people, the fish, the flowers cry out.
To each its all, to all its space. Give the world back to the world. Please, friends, give the world back to the world.
Alien creatures, you will destroy our life on the planet Earth if you land. Alien creatures, you are destroying us.
Silence.
Superman, they've stopped falling. Look, they're hovering just off the ground. They don't look like silver bullets. They're like beautiful silver hummingbirds. Oh, Superman, where will they go if they can't stay here?
Yes, Lois, that's what they're saying, too.
His incredible vision, already 1 trillion times sharper than that of any ordinary being, Superman steps up beside the giant void telescope, and with no need of the aid of the most powerful telescope known to man, Superman gazes farther out into the universe than any human has ever dared or even tried to see.
Yes. Aha, there it is. A planet in the exact same orbital relationship to its sun as Zoink and the Earth are to their suns, but in an entirely different solar system, of course, from ours and theirs. Our radio waves have confused these little creatures and thrown them off their course.
Once again, Superman concentrates. Like a laser, his mind beams the exact course they must take to the silver creatures who wait shivering just a foot above the Earth's surface. Then, like a plague of locusts, the alien creatures rise up into the sky, up until they become once again a tiny, tiny dark cloud above the highest mountaintop, and then, finally, can be seen no more.
You did it, Superman. You saved us. And you saved them, too.
Once again, we have you to thank, Superman, for saving the world from total destruction.
Oh, my goodness. Clark, we've got to get back to Metropolis and find him.
All right, Lois, you drive back with Jimmy. I'll scout around and see if I can catch sight of him.
Back at Galaxy Communications a few hours later.
Clark, thank goodness you're all right. I was so worried. Where have you been?
Well, actually, Lois, I was under the desk when you and Superman were here, but I was too terrified of getting hit by a silver bullet to come out and let you know I was here. What happened?
I sure wish it would rain.
On the world of Zerf, in the 5th dimension, is a civilization with certain striking similarities to our own. For example, their language is very close to English, except for certain words that have no vowel sounds. On this world lives an impish, practical joking gentleman whom we can begin to overhear as he dictates his recorded diary. His name, Mr. Mixel.
Last time I went to Earth, I made everyone in Metropolis speak a different language. The time before, I made all the statues come alive and take over the city. The time before that, I gave everyone in town magical powers like mine. And Superman went bonkers trying to keep the whole coast from blowing off. But every time I showed up, old Muscle Brains managed to trick me into saying my name backwards and magically sending myself home to the 5th dimension. Ha! Those Earth rubes can barely say Mictleptook forward, let alone, hey, there's an idea. Those lunkheads' words are all peppered with vowels. A's and E's all over the place. I's, O's, U's, and nearly every word they've got. What if they couldn't make those sounds anymore, eh? Wow, I'm off!
Meanwhile, several dimensions away in Metropolis' fabulous Galaxy Communications building.
I'd just like to see what you do to get out of this one, Clark Kent. We were both sitting in that helicopter yesterday when all of a sudden Superman swooped down from the sky to save the little girl falling from the building. I turned to see if you got a picture of it,
And lo and behold, I'm not in my seat, right, Lois?
and you know what I think that means.
Oh, nonsense, Lois. There's a perfectly reasonable explanation.
How long do you need to dream it up this time? No, I've got you dead to rights and... Eep! Clark! Out the window! The crush! Clark, what's wrong with me? I meant to tell Clark that plane's about to crash. What's wrong with me? Why do I sound funny?
Excuse me, Lois. Why can't I talk straight? Hey, what's going on? I meant to say, why can't I talk straight?
For at the very moment an out-of-control plane threatens to make Midtown Metropolis its landing strip, the pair of reporters find that their speech has been impaired. Nonetheless, Clark Kent darts down the hall to a storeroom.
No time to trade quips with Lois about being tongue-tied together. This is a job for Superman.
Up and away flies the Man of Steel to catch the tumbling plane on his harder-than-steel shoulders without a wince. And the city, watching from below, breathes a mute sigh of relief as slowly, gradually, the plane is set on its own course without damage. The city is mute because no one at all can utter the sound of a vowel.
That pilot got disoriented when instructions over his radio came in with no vowels. He lost control. What can I say? What words have no vowels? Why? Rhythm? Can't make a sentence out of those words. Wait, there's another word that has no vowels. And that's the word I'm betting is responsible for this mess. Mixed potalk! Mixed potalk!
You rang, Soupy?
You ring, you ridiculous little creep.
You bet I rang, you ridiculous little creep. Are those the words you're looking for, physical one?
What's this mess anyway? Let me talk, will you?
What's the idea of this mess anyway? Let me talk, will you? Oh, you want to talk, do you? Are you sure you have something to contribute to this conversation?
You bet I do. Hey, you magicked me. I can talk.
Very observant, locker room breath. You were saying?
I was saying you're mad, insane, missing your marbles. You're the only opponent I've ever run into who's made me actually lose my temper.
More fun than daytime TV, hey, Soupy baby?
When are you going to give the vowels back to the rest of the people in town?
Not in the foreseeable future. Matter of fact, I was thinking of depriving the two of us pretty soon as well.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, would you? No, no, no!
Yes, bye-bye!
As the imp from the 5th dimension vanishes, his mischievous magic stays behind, and a tongue-tied city as well as its superpowered guardian have their hands full.
Phew! Mixtlepot's been on Earth just a few hours, and already I've had to help the control tower at the airport by hand-carrying 17 planes to a landing before closing the runways. Then I broke up 46 arguments that were turning into street fights because people couldn't make themselves understood. What next?
Hey, Superman!
Mixtlepot?
Bit! There's a bank hold up at the First Metropolis Bank. Want to stop it?
He says there's a bank hold up at the First Metropolis Bank. Want to stop it? You bet I want to stop it.
As the Metropolis Marvel streaks to the scene at the bank across town,
Listen!
A small-time thug threatens already panicky people with a gun when... Whether or not he has the gift of speech, bullets still bounce harmlessly off the indestructible chest of a Man of Steel. and the would-be robber is momentarily rendered harmless to everyone else as well.
Mixpickle! Mixpickle! Figured something.
Superman says he figured something out right here in this bank. Will wonders never cease?
There's nothing can see with vowels. I told the imp there's one sentence I can say without vowels, and he's curious. I'll write it down for him. Akol tapoz yetsom.
That's loaded with vowels. Soupy's gone crackers, and I'll prove it by showing him how this vowelless wonder sounds when I pronounce it without the vowels. Kultibzixum. Hey, that's my name spelled backwards. My magic's gone, and I'm going too. I'll get back at you, you super creepo. You just wait.
Superman, I can talk again.
So can I. Haven't we ever thank you, Superman?
That won't be necessary, ladies and gentlemen, but right now, I've got another job to do.
And soon, at the Galaxy Building, Clark Kent and Lois Lane resume their long-standing argument.
All right, Clark. I can buy the idea that you panicked and ran off when you thought you were losing your voice. That's what a lot of people did. But you still can't explain away your disappearance in the helicopter yesterday.
Well, as I was about to explain, I ran to the back of the Whirlybird to see what was going on more clearly as Superman saved the little girl.
Sure, I'll bet you saw it clearly. I'm supposed to believe that.
Will you believe these photos? You didn't notice that your camera vanished at that moment, too. Does that mean the camera is secretly Superman, too?
Pictures of Superman saving the falling child. You took these with my camera, Clark?
Sure shootin'. What I didn't say is that I set up the camera outside the copter and tripped the shutter with super breath from long distance.
Clark, I don't know how you wheedle out of these things.
I tell you what, Lois. Since it was your camera, you can put them in the Daily Planet under your own name. Maybe that'll teach you to be more trusting.
Blinny.